Hi and welcome to the Beer Temple. I am Chris Quinn, going solo today, although Margaret is off to the side watching, judging everything I do. She just didn't feel like being on camera today. But anyway, should have a really fun show, a show that I'm looking forward to doing because I think it's I have two beers from Oskcar Blues, and I think Oskcar Blues is really an important brand in craft beer and has been really important to the craft beer movement. One of the primary reasons for that is because they can, and they were the first craft brewer to can, I believe. They've been doing it forever, and before I'd ever heard of Oskcar Blues, I'd always heard of their flagship Dale's Pale Ale was this craft beer, which was an amazing pale ale, and it came in a can, and it was so crazy, but it was really good. And, you know, lo and behold, I'd say, man, a good portion, I wouldn't be surprised if it was upwards of getting up towards 50% of new craft breweries that are coming on are starting to can now, because people realize what a great vehicle or vessel it is for craft beer. I've mentioned on past shows that two of the worst things you can do to a beer is expose it to light and expose it to oxygen, and cans pretty much negate both of those things. You know, no oxygen can seep in through there, where through a bottled beer, through the cap, a little bit of air can get through there, and also obviously no light is going to permeate through that aluminum can. So I've got two beers here. You live journaling? Sounds like, yeah, no, it's like, what was that movie with Rodney Dangerfield where the professor's giving his little thing and they're like, what is that noise? And he'd hired the stenographer who was the Ferris Bueller secretary to do the thing. Anyway. Carrying on. I've completely lost my train of thought. So, Oskcar Blues, I'll just start all over again, I guess. They go in cans, very good. We don't get it here in Illinois, so when I was up in Wisconsin, I was lucky enough to be able to get some of their beers. They do distribute pretty widely, just for some reason not to Illinois. And they make some pretty darn good beers. In fact, I picked up two beers that have won at the last GABF. I have the Old Chub, which is their Scotch Ale, and also the newest beer, which I hadn't had before, called Deviant Ale. This is their India Pale Ale. Another cool thing is, you know, just because it's in a can doesn't mean you don't need to put on freshness dates or bottle dates. They do it very clearly on the bottom. They also have funny little quips that they do there. I was at the beer store, and I actually wanted to get another beer by Oskcar Blues that I really like called Mama's Little Yellow Pills. It's an awesome pills, but check the dates. They weren't that fresh, so I didn't pick them up. But this says tall, dark, and cansome, because this is their first, I believe, pounder can as well. So it's tall, dark, and cansome. And this one says Chub Starter, which I don't know what that means, but it sounds funny. Anyway, I think I'll move on to actually drinking the beer now. Old Chub is their Scotch Ale. Like I said, it just won a medal at the latest GABF. Scotch ales are typically very clean tasting ales, you know, getting towards some more of the lager flavors, very low in their ester profile, also low in hop character as well. Really a profile of malt, much like, you know, almost like some of the Bock beers or traditional like Dunkel, something like that would be, but certainly still an ale. Beer's a little cold. I didn't have a chance to let it sit out long enough. Another cool thing about Oskcar Blues is their facilities. They started out, I believe, in the late 90s or early 2000s in this tiny town of Lyons, Colorado, which we actually drove through. It's like a stoplight. It's a tiny town. We're like, whoa, Oskcar Blues. I thought they were in Fremont. I think Fremont, Colorado is where it is. Longmont, Colorado is where they are now. And we're like, oh, I thought Oskcar Blues was in Longmont. They started out in a tiny town, really blew up there in popularity, moved to Longmont, opened up an awesome brew pub there. I have some photos I'll put up. And then they opened up a tap house called the Thirsty Weasel or something. And this place, do you remember this, Margaret? It was it's in the facility. So they have like shuffleboard and sofas and stuff like that, and it's just lined by walls of cans. That's to keep you away from the brewing equipment. And then it's just an operating brewery. There's no windows or walls or anything. You're just in the brewery drinking beer, and they always have a barrel-aged beer on. So we had a barrel-aged Pils, the Mama's Little Yeah Pils. Very weird, but interesting.
Fun.
So yeah, and a fun place. Yeah, Oskcar Blues. Go to Colorado, you can visit them 3 times over. So at Lyons, at Longmont, and then the tap room. So I'm getting a lot of really nice, rich malt here. Like I was talking about, stylistically with Scotch ales, you're not going to get a lot of hop flavor, and you certainly aren't here as well. Almost a little bit of like a smoky flavor as well. I wonder if they smoked some of the peat, or I don't know what else. What are you looking at now?
The barbecue place.
Oh, you're looking up the barbecue place. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a smoked component, but not meaty. I'm not sure if they use any smoked malt on here, but yeah, really nice.
Yeah, the barbecue place was homemade liquids and solids. Remember that?
Homemade liquids and solids,
really
yeah.
Good food and great beer and friendly bartenders.
Really friendly bartenders. We went there like the week before the Great American Beer Fest, and they were super cool. Sat down there, talked to them for a while, told us some other places to go, some places to check out. They also have bands that come in a couple days a week, so they'll put on like straight up little mini concerts upstairs at the brew pub. Really fun little place, and just like a funky place. A lot of like really weird, interesting things. They have a lot of fun with their tap handles. They kind of mess with them, and they have like custom furniture. They had a fountain made out of a keg that was spurting water, and it had like a Dale's Pale Ale sticker on. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really cool. Oh, and their grain silo is painted like a Dale's Pale Ale can, which I also thought was cool. But back to this beer. Really nice full mouth feel. This is a bigger bodied style of beer. Scotch ale versus Scottish ale really is the difference between like a bitter and an ESB in English style. So it's just a bigger version of the same beer basically. So this is a Scotch ale, so I'm going to expect this to be around 6-7% alcohol, 8% alcohol. Big beer. And you can taste it. It's very big bodied, tons of malt character going on, very clean. I'm not getting really much of any fruits, maybe just a little bit of maybe like a dried fruit, but it's mainly a clean malt character, and a really nice roast or smoke component as well. Highly drinkable and pretty deadly at 8%, and it hides it this well. Really nice beer. I'm gonna go 92 for Old Chub. It's just really quite delicious. Really good. I think you're gonna like that beer a lot. And now their newest beer, I believe, at least that they're canning, is Deviant Ale, which is an IPA. It's kind of shocking for a big, well-known craft brewery that's been around as long as Oskcar Blues has to not have an IPA, if you think about it. So, this is Deviant Ale. Also won at GABF this past year. Now, we opened up a can of this a couple days ago, and there was a little bit of a disparity between what some people thought. So I'll try to mention what Margaret thought and what some other people thought as well versus what I thought when you warm it up. Nice looking beer. It appears to be pretty darn clear. I don't know if it's necessarily that brilliant filtered crystal clear, but it's a really lovely copper color with a big white sudsy head. I mean, it's a very nice looking beer here. Oh man. And the nose was what was dividing people. I really liked it. It's really kind of resinous and very like tree bark, almost like cedar bark. You're getting a lot of that dank component as well, and maybe a little catty, people call it. It's or cat pee people use, but it's a positive term. So it is a little catty, and hops can be when you just put in massive amounts of it. Now, on the flip side, there were other people who were saying that this beer smelled like cheesy, is what Margaret said. And that is definitely something you can get from hops. A lot of times when you're using older hops, they are known to be very cheesy. In fact, a lot of gooses and beers that use aged hops, that is a known flavor profile from those old hops, is the kind of a cheesy character to it. And when you say cheesy, you mean like a washed rind kind of stinky cheese, right? Yeah, like a funkiness to it, but funk from the hops, not necessarily from a bacterial infection, something like that. Another person said it tasted like feet, or smelled like feet. So, man, it's out there, but it is in your face. It kind of just punches you in the face with hop character. And what I like about it is it isn't the same old hop character that you're going to get in every other IPA. This doesn't smell like many IPAs I can really think of. It isn't that piney and grapefruity. It isn't that new wave of the big tropical Citra Galaxy style. It's its own thing, and I really like it. Man. So this to me also tastes like a big beer. Yeah, it's 8%, and you really can tell that in the mouthfeel. There's some residual body to it. There's some residual sugars. There's a good body to it. Very creamy in the mouth, and you are getting a lot of those earthy, woody, resinous flavors in it as well. A little bit of kind of, like I said before, catty. But it's really, for as big and hoppy as it is, there's equal amount of big malt there. So this is something where it's balanced and both flavors are really big. Other IPAs, you taste them, both components, but it's just more toned down. This is a big beer. I mean, this is really on the edge of double IPA, but it's really just delicious. Yeah, if I had access to this beer, I would certainly buy it more often. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the price range is. This comes in 6-packs, this comes in 4-packs. I'll get the information for the show. But I like this even more than the Old Chub. I'm gonna go 93 with this. For the Deviant Ales. Really good beer and a really great addition to their lineup. If you have, I also am in love with their Mama's Little Yellow Pills. I'm kind of sad that I couldn't have it on the show, which also won a GABF. I was kind of floored that all three of those beers, these days, for a single beer to win 3 medals and is pretty unbelievable, especially in IPA, Pilsner, and Scottish. I mean, it's not like we're talking about experimental fruit beer when there's not a lot of entries in there. And I don't want to knock that because I think Five Rabbit won that category. So I don't want to knock that category. I like those guys, but anyway, I think I've blathered on long enough and been distracted and so on and so forth. To be fair, I asked Margaret to sit right there, and then when she sat right there, I was distracted by her. So I apologize, but hopefully it was kind of fun that we were kind of talking off camera. Little Gary V-esque, him talking to Mott. If you guys even know what I'm talking about, you probably do. But I am digressing yet again. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, had a blast doing this show. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it, and hopefully you've got some great beer to be drinking alongside of me, because I've got some good beer to drink, and hopefully you do too.